Hi, this is Lee from the Bar Exam Toolbox and the Law School Toolbox. Welcome back. 'Tis the season for bar results. So in today's podcast, we're sharing common questions we receive from bar takers seeking advice about studying again. Well, I had this conversation yesterday like 3 times, which is why I added it to this list. So hope everyone's ready. Is applying for accommodations worth it? What do you think,
Well,
Alison?
I was speaking with someone this morning about this. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, if you need accommodations, it's probably worth it to apply. That being said, I think it's important to understand that if you have never had an accommodation before for anything, even if maybe you had a diagnosis, odds are probably not going to happen. But there are accommodations like we've talked about for all kinds of different things. It doesn't have to be something that's long-standing, but I would say anyone, my bottom line is if you had accommodations in law school, you 100% should probably apply for them on the bar because you have a pretty good shot at getting them. Kind of depends on the jurisdiction. You might be able to forum shop a little. Um, but if you know that this is something you've had, pretty likely. If it's something brand new, I think that's a harder question. What do you think?
I think that's true. I mean, if it's brand new and in the category of like that you need some physical accommodation, so you need a standing desk or you have an injury or you need to be close to a restroom or you need to eat or drink or something like that, I think that those things that come up often are new and they don't typically require extra time. So I think the things that often come with extra time are learning differences, ADHD, anxiety. And if that has just popped up, it may have been there for a while. If you have just recently been diagnosed and you've never had accommodations before, they are going to scrutinize that. And depending on the jurisdiction, you may need to be evaluated, and those evaluations can be expensive and hard to get. And so it may be tough to squeeze that in because those accommodations deadlines are going to come up really quickly, especially if you have just got bad news from the bar. So then you have a few choices, right? You could forum shop, like you mentioned. You can look, especially for these UBE takers, you could look for a jurisdiction that could be still accepting applications. I do recommend that you pick up the phone and call and ask questions so you can get all the information possible. And then you have a difficult decision of whether or not you should delay the exam until you could apply for accommodations. That is really situation specific. But for some students, I have recommended that I think that without accommodations, they're not able to perform at their best. And so just sitting for an exam where they can't be their best selves, just maybe not the best use of time or resources or energy.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an argument for maybe postponing, giving yourself 6 more months to sort this out, and then going in with a better option than just saying like, "Oh, I have to do it right now." It's like, what's the point? If we think you can get accommodations later and we don't think you're gonna
Mhm.
get them for the next test for sure, I would
Yeah.
say that's a strong argument for waiting.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe, give us a like, and leave us a comment. And check back for future updates on preparing for the bar. Thanks for watching.